My name is Sophia. I work under Dr. Huda at the AUK, and it's a pleasure for me to be introducing Dr. Aydin Bal for today's session. For some of you who have met him already, it was a very interactive session yesterday, and Dr. Bal wants it to be more interactive this time. So we have the wireless mics around here, and for those who want to ask questions in Arabic, you can please feel free, use the mics, ask the questions, and a translator at the back would translate it for him, and he would be able to answer your queries. Dr. Aydin Bal is an assistant professor in the Department of Rehabilitation, Psychology, and Special Education at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Dr. Bal's research focuses on the interplay between culture, learning, and behavior problems across local and global education contexts. His current projects aim at developing culturally responsive research methodologies and school-wide intervention models. Dr. Bal has developed the culturally responsive positive behavioral interventions and supports framework and the learning lab methodology. In today's session, Dr. Bal will present the effective implementation of RTI as an integrated model to provide scientifically based, culturally responsive academic and behavioral instruction, progress monitoring, data-based decision-making, parent involvement, and multi-level prevention system. So I'm sure you're all going to enjoy this session with Dr. Bal, and it's going to be such an eye-opener for us in a country like Kuwait, where when we need to improve on so many of our systems. So join me in welcoming Dr. Aydin Bal.
Good morning. My voice is a little bit low, so bear with me. It's a pleasure and honor to be over here. Thanks so much for attending this workshop. Thanks for presenting me. It's such a pleasure. So as I mentioned, we are going to turn this one into more interactive sessions. I can tailor my presentation, my research, 1,000 different ways. It's very important for me to understand where you're at. What are you doing in terms of academic and behavioral interventions in your schools? What kind of challenges you are experiencing? What kind of practices, good practices, strengths you have? And that will give me opportunity to answer your questions, learn from you. Hopefully, we are going to learn from each other. So rather than me speaking over here, so I'm hoping that this is going to be more exchange, just more like the spirit of the learning lab I presented yesterday. Again, thank you so much for coming. And so let's start with the introduction. There you go. While I put the key ideas, thank you very much. I'm just wondering if we can just circulate the microphone so that you guys can introduce yourselves. Your name, your position, and the setting you are working in. At school, hospital, clinics, or you're a researcher, you're a faculty over here preparing teachers, or you're a parent, or individuals with disabilities, or community members, or just people who are wondering about this topic. And lastly, if you can tell me what you would like to get out of this presentation, what you hope to get out of this presentation, this workshop. So before you start, I will put my headphone so that I can understand when you speak in Arabic. Please go ahead.
My name is Helen Babin. I'm the principal at Fawzia Sultan International School. It's one of the special ed schools in Kuwait. We're 1st through 12th grade. We have learning disability students who are college-bound. And the thing that I'm interested in is we are doing a PBS program. And it's tricky because we have elementary, middle, and high, and so we've split it off this year. But I'm just interested in the culturally responsive piece and how you also have included the community and the parents And really, we have done a slightly good job with bringing in the kids because we've asked them what they're interested in. And we do have somewhat of a student voice, but I'm really interested in that community voice that is being included in the school.
Wonderful, welcome. And I heard so much things about your school. I met with some of your teachers, and they were very enthusiastic. They were over here. I would like to hear more about your school. So just the beginning, is it just for students with disabilities, or is it an integrated school?
Yes, we are in a separate school. It is only for school for children with learning disabilities.
Just
we have
learning
about
disabilities.
165 students,
Mm-hmm.
and we do go first through 12th grade. We have school counselors, we have school psychologists, we have a literacy coach, we have a speech pathologist. We do work in conjunction with another rehabilitation center for kids who need therapy and other kinds of things, occupational therapy, emotional therapy, those kinds of things. But we are exclusively for learning disabled students.
Definitely. And they come to your school, students,
Yes.
with already identified, or do you have the
Yes.
identification service?
No, they have to have the full evaluation done on them, and we have an admissions process. So their IQ has to be at a certain level. They have to have a psychologist's evaluation to show how they qualify. We have conversations with teachers from their current schools if their parents are interested in admission. So it's a pretty thorough intake process.
I see. And what's the IQ level?
95,
94.
94,
So
94.
normal
90,
range
yes.
or the higher?
Right. The IQ has to be in the normal range. So
Or higher?
Or higher.
Do you have
Yes.
gifted students, talented
We
students?
do have some gifted students that have behavior issues. However, that's not really what our profile is,
Okay.
you know, but yes.
So gifted students with learning disabilities.
Yes.
Okay.
We do have a few of those,
All right.
yes.
And the IQ test, that's the last
Yes.
question.
Yeah.
IQ test, what IQ tests?
It's what
they
is
use?
available from, there's
This?
there's two main companies who do the evaluations for us.
In Arabic
So-
or in English?
That I'm not sure.
It depends. Sometimes they would, because we would have a little bit, some students would come from government schools, and that when the test will be done in Arabic for them. But the majority of the kids that would come to us, they are coming from American schools and British schools. So they do speak English. They are very verbal, and they can communicate, and they can give you a full conversation, and they can do the test.
I
So,
understand.
yeah.
So they take the test, they can take the test in Arabic and in English.
Yeah.
And they use VISC?
I believe so. I'd have to look.
Okay, so two companies.
Yeah,
VISC.
mostly, yes.
Wonderful.
And our students do speak English quite fluently, so, and all the instruction, we do have American curriculum, and the instruction is in English.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you. Welcome.
I work in the same school. I'm a high school teacher.
What's your
And
name?
My name is Dana Minkara.
Nice to meet
And
you, Dana.
I've been there for 15 years. And we do have some challenges with, and that's what I'm looking for in this session, to see how we can get the behavior and the academics to balance them together.
So
and
you implement PBIS.
Yes,
How
we
long
do.
you have been implementing PBIS, Dana, in your school?
We've been doing it for the past almost 6 years.
6 years. Very well.
Yes,
Very well.
it's been,
And RTI, do you have an established RTI?
No. no.
You
And
don't
this
have.
is what we're looking for today.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And are you a teacher? Or?
I teach in high school. I teach grade 9 English language arts and social studies for
All
the
right.
grade 9 students. Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
And your background is also in LD?
In special ed, yeah.
And
I have a
learning
master's degree in
disabilities.
special ed and
Thank you.
student
Welcome.
sciences. Yeah, thank you.
السلام عليكم.
السلام عليكم.
أنا إيمان العرادي، معلمة مرحلة ابتدائية.
Excuse me. So, I think this is supposed to work. Okay, so we need help. Number 2. Okay. All right. Just try.
معلمة في المرحلة الابتدائية في المدارس الحكومية.
Doesn't work. Maybe you can help us. Thank you. I apologize. Which channel is that? Okay. Can you say something?
معلمة في المرحلة الابتدائية في المدارس الحكومية، حاصلة على ماجستير في المناهج وطرق التدريس. عملت في دراستي على نموذج ال RTI أو Universal Design، وصممت برنامج، عربت برنامج برياضيات وطبقته على طلبة في مدارس صعوبات التعلم الحكومية. عندنا 2 سكول بالمدرسة، مدرستين صعوبات تعلم حكومية، لكن ما يتبعون نظام ال RTI. وأنا أطمح من خلال هذه الورشة أن نقدر نطبق ال RTI، مو بس ال RTI واليونيفرسال ديزاين بعد في مدارسنا، ولكن هناك الكثير من التحديات، لأن أصلاً إحنا ما عندنا معلمين فئات خاصة داخل مدارسنا الحكومية. طريقة تشخيص ما في، انتظار الفشل للصف الثالث الابتدائي، ويقارنون بين ال IQ نسبة الذكاء ومستوى الطالب. فإحنا للحين ما عندنا ثقافة أن الطالب ممكن يشخص في مراحل مبكرة، فنطمح أن نطبق ال RTI لأنه راح يقلل عندنا نسبة الطلبة اللي عندهم صعوبات تعلم أو يشخصون أو يضع ليبل عليهم أنهم صعوبات تعلم. أوكي، شكرا.
Welcome. What's your name?
إيمان العرادي. إيمان.
Pleased to meet you. And which level was that? Elementary school? You were?
مرحلة ابتدائية.
Wonderful. Welcome.
Okay.
Good morning. My name is Sausan Faris. I'm a teacher assistant in one of the English schools. I'm trying to attend different courses to benefit from new systems or new strategies in teaching children. I believe in multiple intelligence. I believe that each child can achieve something. And more you understand these students, you could help them in a better way. So this is why I'm trying to attend this session, just to benefit and try to apply it whenever I have the chance.
Welcome. So you are from Lebanon.
Yeah.
Which school do you work in? Could you describe the school that you work in?
Yeah, it's an English school, in the new English school. They don't have the system of learning difficulties. They follow the system of IEP, and they apply it on students that don't know how they are diagnosed. They don't have, let's say, an official report. Just from observation in school, they label them and consider them as less able students, and they follow a system of IEP and they apply on them. But in my work, I don't do any of this. I'm just helping in computer activities or lessons.
It's very
But
important.
I wish to move somewhere else to do what I wish to do. Yani.
Wonderful. Welcome.
Thank you.
Could you pass the microphone next?
I will speak by Arabic, okay? آسف هاخد من وقتهم بس 10 دقايق بس. اسمي الأمير عبد المنعم الأمير، أخصائي اجتماعي بمدرسة المعرفة النموذجية الجديدة. أنا طبقت بالفعل مشروع ال RIT باستخدام نموذج ال RIT في المدرسة عندي. عموما المدرسة بتاعتي مدرسة تعليم عام وليس تعليم خاص. التجربة لما استخدمنا نموذج ال RTI، استخدمنا استراتيجيات التعزيز لتعديل السلوك اللي هو التشكيل، نموذج فيرنالد لمعالجة القراءات، واستخدمنا أسلوب متعدد الحواس. كان أول سؤال لنا إزاي نبحث عن هؤلاء الطلاب. احنا عن طريق استمارة استبيان، بنسميها استمارة استبيان أولية أو استمارة استبيان قبلي واستمارة استبيان بعدي. استمارة الاستبيان القبلي خلت مننا 3 أسابيع لبحث مصداقية الاستبيان حول مدى الاستجابة بتاعت الطلاب ومدى مستوى الطلاب السلوكي والأكاديمي. الأعراض الخاصة بالطلاب من الملاحظة، واستخدمنا الأدوات الاستراتيجية الRTI اللي هي الملاحظة، شهادات الاختبارات الشهرية والفصلية، واستخدمنا تقارير المدرسين عن الطلاب. من خلال الملاحظة يتشابه أعراض الطلاب سلوكيا مع أعراض ال ADHD. خطة العمل بتاعت الوحدة كانت كالآتي. استخدام ال RTI كان يشتمل على 3 ليفلز، 3 مستويات. المستوى الأول وهو تغيير بيئي للطلاب. احنا كمدارس تعليم عام ما عندناش الإمكانيات اللي ممكن أشتغل بيها، سواء إمكانيات المكانية والإمكانيات المادية. انتقلنا للليفل أو السكند ليفل، المستوى الثاني. المستوى الثاني كان تكثيف عدد ساعات الحصص، وأخذ الطلاب اللي عندهم صعوبات تعلم ووضعهم في فصول احتياطية ليتعامل معهم مدرس لغة عربية لتحويلهم من طلاب صعوبات تعلم إلى طلاب إلى حد ما يستطيعوا القراءة والكتابة. في المستوى الثاني استخدمنا كل خلال البرنامج اللي بنشتغل عليه بحيث ان احنا بنأهل الطلاب لكيفيه القراءه والكتابه، كان لابد في نفس المستوى امسي بالمستوى السلوكي وهو تعديل السلوك. كان عن طريق اني بكون عندي في تعزيز تفاضلي للسلوك الاخر، وكان في عندي التشكيل. دول استراتيجيات التدخل لعلاج السلوك للطلاب. خلال المستوى الثاني هم عدد الطلاب اللي تم اكتشافهم 15 طالب. بفضل الله سبحانه وتعالى تم إنجاح 10 طلاب، ولكن هناك ملحوظة. الطلاب تعلموا القراءة والكتابة وليس بنفس المستوى والدقة اللي عليها باقي الطلاب من المستوى بتاعهم سواء في الصف. أسباب ذلك الطلاب بيجوني من المرحلة الابتدائية للمرحلة المتوسطة. المرحلة الابتدائية بيجيني الطالب قد يكون في مدرسة ثانوية اللغة أو مدلل من والديه، لأنه بيكون رقمه حسب الاستمارات الرقم الأخير بين أفراد أسرته، فبيكون مدلل أكثر من أي شيء. فده بيأثر إنه بيكون عنده سلوكيات لكن تحصيل دراسي ما فيش. فاجتمع عندي اثنين، في عندي مشكلة سلوكية وعندي مشكلة تحصيل دراسي. اوكي تتعرض للتجربه كلها هلا الناطرين اوكي خلاص. فاينل. احنا بنحتاج او بنطالب الجمعيه الكويتيه لاختلافات التعلم كراعيه لهذا الموضوع ان احنا يكون عندنا برنامج ابس ستور او بلاي ستور يتحط فيه برنامج كيفيه التعامل مع الRTI عن طريق بيشترك فيه المدرس، الطالب، ولي امر الطالب، الاداره المدرسيه. بدل ما انا اشتغل باستمارات السبيان، انا استمارات السبيان اشتغلت فيها 1112 استماره السبيان لانه عندي 15 طالب. فاذا عملت الاب ستور وحاولت اني اروح للمدارس زي كده حيقلل علي الجهد والوقت وهقدر اوصل بالمستوى الطلاب الأعلى.
Sure. In terms of data, yes. We have lots of applications, and there is a network called RTI network. It's a part of my presentation. At the end of my presentation, I provided links. So the network, RTI network, that's a national network funded by State Department of Education, federal government. We have those centers, technical assistance centers. They are designed to provide technical assistance to schools and teachers to implement RTI. RTI is a long process, and there are different tools. And one of the most used tools is a bank of interventions. So where you can find the research-based interventions. So you can be a part of that network. Second part that they provide is several forms and checklists for teachers to assess, let's say, students' reading skills, math skills, and collect data and analyze data. Because during the RTI and PBIS, we collect lots of data. Collecting data is wonderful, but if we don't use the data, it's useless. And we are continuously using data. That's the unique aspect of RTI and PBIS. We continuously use data, but not in the traditional sense, not on the child level. We look at the child's performance, But we are comparing child's performance against other groups, norm groups. For example, in your school, there are all of the students are identified with LD, learning disabilities. So, excuse me? Definitely, comorbid disabilities are important. That's why I'm going to tell a little bit more about why RTI came to replace the discrepancy model, because of those kind of blue line and the gray lines where we cannot distinguish or demark students with LD from students without LD but who's still struggling. But definitely we have models, and there's a link, I'll show the link to you, but they are in English. That's why yesterday I was telling the group some of the assessment tools are developed in English. Not just the language in English though, it's a culture. It's based on American culture, certain things. So to be able to use the RTI and other models appropriately, adequately, and help us in Kuwait, I guess we need to coordinate our efforts. That's why I'm looking at our researchers over here. Hopefully you can provide more information about the valid and reliable assessment tools in terms of student performance, as well as the school level. For example, in PBIS, we have school climate survey, which is looking at the whole school culture. Our adults are interacting positively with each other. Our adults talking with kids, interacting with kids positively. Or kids, students feel safe, supported in their school culture. So as a part of data, we not only collect data on the student level, we also collect data on the teacher's level. We have several different tools for that. But also, we collect data on the whole school level. That's why you need a good team, good plan to collect the data strategically and analyze data. Just like anything else, we cannot just collect data, collect data, collect data if we don't use them continuously to adjust our system. Beautiful part and strength of RTI and PBIS is that they are flexible, they are adaptive. The model you implemented in Egypt in your school should be changed because you can ask questions, those questions that you ask me, to your data. And your team is going to answer by using data. Our role as the researchers and technical assistance centers, like Kald is doing, to guide you and build capacity in your school so that you are not going to need outside resource so much. Is that clear? We'll talk more about this one. Did I answer your question, Dr. Huda?
I'm trying to answer his question. Is there applications so we can collect the data through applications?
Definitely.
Doing it manually?
Definitely. And there are lots of also different apps. But I highly recommend you to use the RTI Network's recommended apps. There are lots of companies now, they are developing those tools. For example, in US, we have a data management tool called Oasis. It's a private company, and your school or the district may work with them. But each tool has advantages and disadvantages. When it comes to PBIS, PBIS Center, similar to RTI Network, is a national center. And they have a tool called SWISS, S-W-I-S-S. Are you familiar with it?
I've only been in the Middle East for a couple of years, but where I was in Washington State.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. So you work in Seattle?
I was in Seattle Public Schools for many years.
Wonderful. I'm hoping that maybe you can also join me to answer that question, because in US we use different tools and systems because those decisions are not always made by the researchers. Maybe one company is working with one school district much better, or school district may work with those companies to tailor their data. For example, SWISS is allowing us to disaggregate data by students' gender, race, age group, which is a wonderful tool. But also, SWISS has some kind of limitations in terms of academic interventions. They are not integrated. So that's why schools are using more integrated data systems. There are lots of out there. Maybe Kald sites, I can talk with you, and maybe Kald can serve a bridge between those kind of tools, sets, and Kuwait, what will work for Kuwait, so that we can bring the best tools. So But thank you, thank you.
Good morning. I'm Shireen El Gamasi from Egypt. I'm working at CBS, Canadian Bilingual School, since 4 years now. I'm the counselor for high school students. I have like 160 students
Wonderful.
in my department. We are having normal students, not LD students, but sure, sometimes we have difficulties with some students. We can identify the cases by the observation with the teachers and their reports. So I'm working with the cases, me and Ms. Roshin, but she's not here today, the guidance counselor, with the parents at home. Also, we have behavior issues. Our challenge in my high school students, especially their academic level. They are sometimes below 2 grades for their level. So we are working on that by supporting them. We have a great group from ESL teachers. They are teaching them in small groups inside the classroom. Sometimes they are pulling them out to start work with them one-on-one, like this. That's it.
Wonderful, welcome. So it's an integrated school, which means you have students without disabilities along with the student with disabilities.
Yes.
In Egypt, do you have the special education law?
Yes, sure, we have. And we have special schools for those students as well.
Schools, the policies, special education law, like the US, we have IDEA. Do you
Yeah,
have,
sure, we have. Sure.
And the specific learning disabilities
Yes.
is a part of that law.
Yes,
How
sure.
about behavioral problems?
Yes.
So do you have the all disability categories you have in US, like 13 disability categories, autism, ADHD?
Yes,
behavioral
sure,
disorder?
sure, we have.
In
But
Kuwait is the same way too? Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, but we have a problem sometimes with the parent. They don't want even to do the assessment for their kids.
Who?
The parents. Sometimes I sit with him and explain all the problems inside the classroom and outside the classroom, and he's saying or she's saying to me, no, my kid is normal. I will not do anything.
Sure.
So this is a big problem. If there is no cooperation between the school and the parent, it will be very, the student will be struggling all the time, and no solution for that.
This is an important challenge. In research, this is a common challenge, I guess. See, this kind of conversations are always helpful because even though we work in different countries, different levels of schools, we have common challenges so that we can learn from each other.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful dialogue. But one aspect, I want us to be a little bit careful. As professionals, we may be quick to just turn to parents and say they don't accept or admit their child as a disability. In US, we did that mistake, almost like blaming the parents perspective. They don't accept the reality, there's a tricky part over there. One, what we know from the research in US, we have since 1975, even before we have special education laws, there's a challenge. Special education is a wonderful opportunity for students who are struggling learning and providing them education, accommodations, adaptations. But at the same time, they get a label. And that label comes with lots of stigma, which means if a child is labeled with behavioral disorders, psychological problems, learning disabilities, so people start to treat them differently. Think about the primary school child, always going to be treated, primary school child with learning disability. Teachers may treat them or treat her as if she cannot do certain things. We start to expect low from her, and kids can pick up that. We know from our kids, if we just do everything for them, they cannot be competent, right? But we have high expectations when we look at our children's eyes. We think that they can do the best things in the world. When I look at my daughter, I see she can be scientist, she can be astronaut, right? And she can understand that. I have high expectations from her. Unfortunately, in public schools or general education settings, teachers or other people and other kids start to treat those kids with the label, special education label, differently. They treat them more negatively. That's the stigma part. So parents may be worrying about that part too. Because often here is another problem, what we learn from US. Label doesn't solve the problem. Label doesn't solve the problem. The one issue is that label may not be accurate. Because again, we don't have, as Dr. Spence mentioned, that we don't have medical measures. We have the vision test. I can take the vision test in Kuwait. My vision is going to be the same, 20/20. And I go back to US, I take the same vision test. My vision should be the same. But learning disabilities, behavioral disorders, even ADHD, we don't have medical tools. We don't have a blood test. We don't have X-ray or CAT scan to identify students. So we rely on lots of observations, subjective tools. And sometimes a child is struggling. A child is experiencing lots of behavioral problems. And teachers may be quick to label that child so that we can justify his failure. RTI and PBIS are saying, wait. Let's make sure we provide high-quality learning opportunities for those children. If they are failing in math, we should check our curriculum first, our math curriculum. Is it a good math curriculum? How we teach that curriculum, our instruction is good, effective, accessible. Because as one of our members mentioned, that multiple intelligence, we all learn differently, right? And again, so if we change our instruction, if we change our curriculum, and we need to also see if the teacher, math teacher, maybe needs to improve his or her abilities to teach. Then we talk with the parents to see if that child is experiencing the same problem at home. That's why we have multiple setting assessments. Unfortunately, even in US, we don't do that. Sometimes we are very quick to judgment, and we gave the label, and label doesn't solve the problem. Label is over there to provide services, right? If we don't provide services, we are leaving those kids in the world with the label, and they have to deal with that label. And again, kids may not understand. They may start to see themselves as deficit, a problem. They may see themselves as less intelligent, less worthy, a more problem. So how they see themselves is going to affect how they relate to the world, right? If they see themselves as less competent, less intelligent, they are not going to challenge themselves. They are not going to be motivated to go to schools and go to higher education. We know that. High school, our grades may low, then they go up. Look at our life experiences. You are very accomplished professionals. We don't have the perfect record. None of us has. Sometimes we struggle. But the important part is we stayed in school, and we continued. We failed. We find another way to adapt. Unfortunately, kids with labels, special education labels specifically, they are dropping out very quickly because they say, this place is not for me. I'm less intelligent. I'm not smart. I have a problem. So that kind of, to answer your question a long way, I understand parents may be hesitant. That hesitation may have different reasons. But that's the challenge for us educators. How can we solve that issue, right? Because PBIS and RTI cannot be implemented without parents.
Sure.
That's the essentials. That's why I know you asked that questions, and I'm with you. And again, in US, that's the very main challenge that we are experiencing, because there is no perfect model. 10 years later, we are going to have another acronym, A, B, C, G, instead of RTI. Each 10 years, we are coming up with this kind of great programs. But great programs is great as how we are implementing them. And RTI and PBIS, they are trying to be purposefully very flexible. They don't say, this is the right way to do it. They say, build a capacity in your school. Work with your parents so that you can adjust your system, right? But the key point is, as you perfectly right, working with parents. And if you are not on the same page, you are not seeing things eye to eye, that may be seen as a problem. But for me, actually, that's the beginning part. I like that. People are looking at me oddly, because often as researchers, they say that you need to be on the same page with parents. It's impossible. It's impossible. You need to be same page with your principal. It's impossible. Schools are large institutions. There are multiple agendas, interests, histories, experiences, right? Different personalities. Tensions are unavoidable. But what we can do is, through these RTI teams, PBIS teams, bring those tensions on the table and work those tensions. Because if there's a tension, there's a potential for change. If there's a tension, there's a motivation for change. Think about our lives. I saw the sign over here, coming over here on the bus. It says, lose weight, zero carb diet. Did you see those ads? So let's say I'm a little bit feeling like I gain a little bit weight, and I look at those ads and I say, I need to do something. There's a tension in my life that I need to do something. Let's say I'm smoking cigarette, which I don't, but I'm not smoking cigarette, but let's say I'm using cigarette, and I start to cough, and I don't feel right. There's that tension, right? And I can use this tension to change my life. Schools are the same way too. If there's that kind of conflict between you and parents, you both want the best for the child, right? That's the common ground. But the tension is over there for you. It says something. You need to work out. You need to work out together. Thanks so much for asking that question. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Tasneem, I work as an ESL coordinator in CBS. That's Canadian Bilingual School.
Where is that?
In Kuwait.
In Kuwait. Wonderful.
Yeah. We get the students after, like, we work in a small group. That's intervention. But our problem is, like, there are students who are there with us for, say, about 2 years. There's, like, we do hands-on activities. We do many kind of activities, but they don't improve.
Okay.
As she said, that it's very difficult to convince the parents to get them tested.
Okay.
We face that a lot. And that's a major problem because there are students who are in ESL group for, say, 5 years.
Okay.
We have all the tests, we don't follow RTI.
Okay.
It's like we don't have that system.
Please keep talking. I'm going to take notes if you guys don't mind. Go ahead, please.
So we would love to, like, I would say we should recommend that we should have the model, RTI model in our school, so that it can help the parents and teachers as well as admin to identify the students and work with them more.
Welcome. Thank you. Thanks for coming. Yeah. Yeah, let's do that. Thank you.
You can lean on it.
Definitely. Please go ahead.
My name is Wala Zaki. I work in same school, CBI.
And we have the behavior issues being recommended. They go to our other school, that's CCI, which works with behavior issues. Yeah. But when it's learning difficulties, we can't help them. Like, ESL is the last. We just had, like, if you say RTI, we're just on the second term. Intervention, that's after school intervention we have provided.
Okay. Thank you. Welcome.
Good morning. My name is Sarah Al-Johari. I am a new teacher assistant. I am working now at Gulf School. Thanks.
Welcome. Thank you.
لكل الإعاقات يعني مش معاقة معينة.
Which level? Primary school or?
Nursing. Not school. Nursing.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you, nursery. Welcome.
هنادي عبد الهادي مدرسة احتياجات خاصة حضانات.
Okay. Before you, what would you like to get out of this workshop?
طيب أنا بالنسبة لي بقالي 14 سنة شغالة في الاحتياجات الخاصة. أولا بحب أستزيد شوية من المعلومات. ثانيا هي في نقطة هم اتكلموا فيها بالنسبة للتعامل مع أولياء الأمور، لأنه هي بتبقى في مشكلة مع أولياء الأمور إن هم ما بيعترفوش بإعاقات ولادهم، فبنحب إن احنا نشوف التعامل معهم شكله. بس.
Welcome.
My name is Mu'tamin Muhammad Said. I'm working at Risala Academy. I'm working with grade 1 and grade 2.
Are you a special education teacher?
Yeah.
Okay. What are you interested in learning in this workshop?
I'm working with vocation about life skills boys. I want to know I want to know about more information about ADHD.
ADHD.
And how to deal with them.
Okay. In this workshop, unfortunately, we are not going to address the specific disability of ADHD, but we are going to talk about mostly identification of the students with learning disabilities, as well as the students with behavioral difficulties. Students with ADHD can experience both. So hopefully that can help you this directly. Otherwise, I'm sure the Kald has multiple resources for you to learn about the students with ADHD. And after the workshop, I'll be happy to talk with you and direct you some resources in the United States, more specific to ADHD. But today, we are not going to focus on the ADHD more specifically. Welcome.
I am Madal Hassan. I'm doing a PhD research in UK in clinical language science. I'm actually from Saudi Arabia, and I'm taking data from Kuwait and Saudi Arabia about language difficulties for autism children and how they can acquire a second language and how can I deal with parents, because I used to use the ADOS and other measurements.
Yeah.
And the parents will not allow you that easy to deal with the children, either to give you like a blockage, or they will not even admit that they have an autistic children, even though, which is hilarious, they put their autistic children in a center which is specialized.
Yes.
So the only thing that I'm looking for, how can I break that wall? Because yeah, I'm hitting that wall in my research, and I cannot go over it. In Saudi Arabia and in Kuwait, in both cultures, actually, they're not helping the researchers.
Understand. What's your name?
Mada.
Mada?
Yeah.
So are you finishing your PhD?
Actually, I'm going to the second year, recruiting my data, you know that
definitely.
process, and it's a blockage.
Definitely. So your area is it similar to speech and language therapy?
Actually, I'm studying in Berkshire, in UK.
Okay.
I'm studying a clinical language science. I am actually a linguist.
Linguist,
But I'm studying the language as a science.
Okay.
And from a clinical point of view.
Okay.
So it's like a psycholinguistics and
I see.
Yeah, neurolinguistics kind of way, just to study the acquisition of the language in a psychological and neurological.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
like the process in the brain, actually.
Wonderful. I would love to hear more about this. Today, we are not going to focus on the students with autism or their linguistic abilities. But I'm going to, based on your interest.
But you are going to deal about parents. Yes, this is my point of view.
Definitely, definitely. So through the model, the Learning Lab, I can provide you some information about, hopefully that will be helpful, more school-wide approach, though. What we did.
Approaches how to deal with the parents.
Yes, but in the school-wide context.
Yes.
It's not the one-on-one therapy.
Yes.
But hopefully that's going to be helpful for you.
This is the only problem that I'm facing right now. The child doesn't have a problem to contact with me at all, actually.
Yes.
Especially the autistic children.
Yeah.
Even whenever you contact with them, to play with them, and even to have like,
sure.
If you heard about the DELF and the short narrative, the asking question, they will go along with me. But at the end, if you ask the parents to have the child, after all the process, to have the data, they stop there, even though I will not mention the name or anything else. It's completely privacy.
Definitely.
So I don't know, how can I even...
Definitely. Again, today we are going to focus on how parents and educators and students even get together and change their school system. Did you attend yesterday's presentation?
Actually, I arrived from UK yesterday.
Okay, so maybe they will set the stage, but today, again, following that, we are going to focus on the school-wide context. But I'll be happy to talk with you after the workshop.
Yes, please, one-on-one.
One-on-one,
Yes.
therapy-wise, I can give you more resources, but today, we are focusing on the whole school context.
And in parents?
Parents, educators together,
Yes, okay.
and we are mostly focusing on students with learning disabilities and behavioral disorders. Again, special education is a wide area. I hope we had a whole school year to talk about those issues. Maybe next time I can come over here, we can focus on that aspect. But today, the school-wide intervention.
Yes.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
In the front over here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Hazem Al Khatib. I'm a special needs teacher in Ideal Education School.
Where?
Ideal Education School.
Okay. In Kuwait?
Yes.
Is it a dual language school, English and Arabic?
No,
Or
it's English school. English
only
school.
English?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, I spent all my experience with autistic and Down syndrome. That's why I
With Down syndrome
Down
and
syndrome and autistic.
autism. Okay.
Yeah. That's why I'm expecting something new for my experience about LD and ADHD.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Again, the unique thing about RTI and PBS, we try to focus on the whole school context, which means you cannot exclude the students with autism from that context. They have to get math, they have to learn reading, writing, and the students with intellectual disabilities also same way too. But that's the challenge right now currently. RTI and PBS, unfortunately, we didn't reach to that population. So that population, usually students with intellectual disabilities and students with autism, if they are included in the school context, they receive their education mostly in separate classrooms, or we have the pull-out services for them. But unfortunately, even in the research side, RTI and PBS are not addressing them adequately. But hopefully today I'll talk about the academic interventions and behavioral interventions, and you can make the interference and connections between what I'm presenting over here, and what you are doing in your school. Welcome, sir.
صباح الخير. صبح البحراني، معلم تربية الخاصة. معلم تربية خاصة. اختصاصي تعليم الطلاب من الجانب المهارات الحياة اليومية. وعندي دبلوم اللي هو تعديل سلوك، وعندي دبلوم تخاطب، فعندنا تخصصات أكثر. فنشتغل على مشروع اللي هو دمج الطلاب في داخل المدارس بدون فصول خاصة، نبي ندمجهم في الصف نفسه. فحضوري للدورة ذي أبي أطلع على ما هو جديد في صعوبات التعلم.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming. This is a very important issue because historically RTI and PBIS came out of the inclusion movement. This is what you are working on, the inclusion or integration, right? So as I explained yesterday, did you attend yesterday's talk?
نعم موجود.
Perfect. Then you saw over there that historically we moved from those separate schools to more integrated schools. But again, another great idea, inclusion is a great idea, but inclusion, putting those kids in the same classroom doesn't solve the issue. We struggle a little bit in the US. Therefore, we developed this kind of more school-wide integrations, activities. And I think RTI can help you in terms of inclusion.
عندنا تجربة طبعا احنا في السعودية عن صعوبات التعلم بالدمج الفعلي.
اوكي.
فيكون الطالب يروح بس في وقت المواد المخصصة له لمعلم مختص، ولكن ياخذ باقي المواد مع نفس الطلاب العاديين.
A pull-out program. Okay, all right. Wonderful, welcome.
السلام عليكم.
السلام عليكم.
حافظ البحراني. أنا موجه علوم. أنا بعيد كل البعد عن ما تقدمونه، لكن عندنا فصول خاصة لهذه الفئة داخل المدرسة. الحكومة أو المدارس الحكومية عندنا حاولوا يدمجون هذه الفئة من الطلاب في نفس المدرسة، ولكن ليس مع جميع الطلاب وإنما في فصول خاصة. حضوري لهذا الحلقة النقاشية حتى أعرف ماذا يواجه المعلمين الذي أقوم بالإشراف عليهم، فأستطيع مساعدتهم بقدر الإمكان.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, thank you. Would you like to add the mic?
I will not use the phone with the mic, sorry, because I don't like it. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you.
My name is Chela. I'm working in special needs school. I'm in managerial area now. 25 years behind me. As I said, the special needs school based in conductive education. I don't know, have you heard about this or not? It's a unique method based in coming actually from Europe. We are working very hard how to involve the parents in this system, and I hope you can get a couple of good ideas to us how to make this one.
Wonderful, wonderful, welcome. So your population, student population, who are you serving?
We base mostly severe disabilities, okay?
Severe?
Severe, yeah.
So multiple disabilities, like paraplegia and
Yeah, mostly cerebral palsy.
cerebral palsy? Okay.
Mostly cerebral.
Do you provide academic interventions, academics?
We are an English school.
Okay.
We run the British curriculum.
Okay.
But break it down.
So you have the occupational therapy,
Yes, we have a couple of
physical therapy, rehabilitation psychology, and the age group?
from 3 and a half to 21.
21, wonderful. So then do you work on transition as well? Transition to adulthood, transition to college?
No.
Okay. All right, welcome.
Hi, good morning. My name is Dr. Soha. I'm working as a social worker at...
Dr. Sawa?
Soha.
Suha.
Yes. I'm from Egypt. I'm working as a social worker at the Canadian Bilingual School. My master's degree, it's talking about the violence between the student, and my PhD, it's talking about the woman-headed within the non-government association. I think it will not according to our session, but my question is, this is the first time that I'm hearing about the RTI. I think it will be a good intervention, but as you know, any intervention, it have a lot of comments. So I want from you to tell us what is the positive and the negative about this intervention.
Definitely.
And I will not pretend that we have the RTI in our school. We are using some skills to make any observation for the student inside the class for 2 days or 3 or week or per week. Okay. After that, we ask the parents to make assessment for this student. As our colleague, they told you that we have a lot of challenge about that. So how we can use RTI as a team in our school, and I want you to told me, it's a big, I know it's a big challenge, but in a simple way, how I can use RTI in my school.
Perfect question.
This is my question.
Wonderful, perfect
yeah.
question.
And how I can share the parents
in my intervention.
How you can
Share the parents, student parents, to
involve them. Okay.
involve in my intervention.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good morning. My name is Wala. I work as a preschool teacher
Welcome.
in British Playhouse Nursery, and my main concern is child behavior and how to deal with parents. How to explain to parents it's not a big problem that if the child have bad behavior in class,
Wonderful.
and how to let the parents accept that in a normal way.
And work with you.
And work with children.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good
My
morning.
name is Shemana Mavar. I am a global leader for young children at the World Forum Foundation, and I'm the founder of the British Playhouse Nursery. I'm here to see if I can implement the RTI in my nursery, and if we can start at an early age with those children. And the other thing, how to convince parents, because once we tell them, can you just test them, so me and my staff can work with this child, they're in a very big denial. And when they're in denial, we really can't move or do anything with this child.
All right. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My
Good
name
morning.
is Mona. I'm a kindergarten teacher at the British Playhouse.
Nice.
I want to know, after this intervention with the parents, if they continue to deny. As a general education teacher, what can I do to implement that in my class with an LD student that is integrated in my classroom? If they refuse to take him, what can I do if they continue to deny?
All right. Welcome. Yes, definitely.
Thank you very much.
أنا أمل طالبة بكالوريوس في جامعة الكويت. تخصصي اجتماعيات ابتدائي، يعني دراسات اجتماعية. وما أعتقد يعني كدراستي يحتاج بس مقررين حق التربية الخاصة، وأعتقد إني راح أواجه مشاكل في يعني كتدريس الطلبة من التربية الخاصة وجود اليوم لهذا السبب. Thank you.
Are you in the public school?
Yeah,
And
I'm a student.
you're a student?
Yeah, I'm in university.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. Welcome. You have a great teacher.
اسمي فاطمة، طالبة في كلية التربية جامعة الكويت، تخصص علم نفس. أمانة أنا جاية اليوم هنا عشان أتعلم من خبرات المعلمين، لأن أنا للحين ما عندي خبرة وما نزلت الميدان، فأشوف شنو الصعوبات اللي هم واجهوها عشان إذا نزلت الميدان أنا أقدر إني أتفاداها، أو إنه شنو الأساليب اللي اتبعوها عشان لو نزلت الميدان إنه ما أتطرق لها ويكون عندي حل جاهز قبل لا أنا أوصل حق المشكلة نفسها اللي هم واجهوها. شكرا.
Learning disability, dyslexic, and I came here to get to know more information and about this model, the RTI, and in order to help my kids with the school, because I always collaborate with the school, the teachers, the counselor, since I know that they have been diagnosed. And thank you.
It's a pleasure, real pleasure to have parents.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks so much.
She can be an ambassador for the other parents.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Such a pleasure. And thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for advocating for your children, but also paving the road for the rest of the families. This is such an important step. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great.
So your kids are in public school or?
No, they are in bilingual school.
Bilingual school. How did they diagnose? Did they get diagnosed?
My first one, they tell me at the beginning, since he was in KG, that he's not to grade level.
That diagnosis was ADHD?
No, they didn't diagnose. It's actually my search. I searched a lot about why he is not paying attention, why he is acting like this behavior.
Okay.
Because in the house, he's a quiet kid, but when in certain times, I notice that he's not paying attention, that his behavior is just explored like this. So I search a lot on the net, and I read about ADHD. I look in Kuwait for any kind of place to diagnose him. Then I took him there, and they diagnosed him as ADHD.
Okay.
In the beginning, I didn't ask about ADHD exactly, just a general diagnosis. But at the end, it comes ADHD. Now he's 10.
Wonderful.
And he's diagnosed when he was in grade 3 that he has ADHD.
And the second child?
She's been diagnosed last year that
With ADHD?
No, a learning disability.
Learning disability.
Dyslexia.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And they're in the same school?
Yes.
Okay. Wonderful. Welcome.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm not used to using these, so you can hear me.
You are doing a great job.
My name is Roseanne, and I have a combination background. I formerly was trained as a psychiatric nurse, and worked in a children's psychiatric hospital. So I have quite a bit of experience, and also adults. So I have quite a bit of experience working with kids with psychosocial, mental health issues, and of course that also includes, they'll have learning disabilities and developmental delay issues, etc. I'm sort of new. Then I did my master's in education and specialized in Asian and counseling. So I've worked as a counselor. It's sort of a new role the past few years in the school educational settings, and I've taught. Part of the role of a counselor is to support teachers and parents and the student. So you're basically an advocate for everybody.
Definitely.
And that can be tricky at times. So what I'm looking for is, again, being fairly new to the educational setting, I get about 5 years, I suppose, and most of it is in the Gulf setting. So I'm looking for strategies and interventions specific to the RTI and the PBIS that support the student and the parent and all parties and partners involved in the classroom setting.
Okay.
And I went to a workshop. I had some work experience in Qatar, and there was an American person who was a PBIS coach, and her word was that it takes 4 years to implement, which sounds daunting. So, it'd be good to get some specific strategies that can be used to support the teachers because of the inclusion aspect. Okay. Thank you.
Welcome, Rosa. Would you please? Please.
Okay. Okay, my name is Aydin Bal. I am a faculty member in Kuwait University in the Department of Political Sciences. So the reason I'm here is I am a member of Kald and the board member.
Wonderful.
And then I love to know about what's going on. I know about these all mechanisms and procedures and the people who are attending and to improve the Kald mission, to apply the Kald mission, which is helping everybody here. So that's why I want to know, to increase my knowledge about these things.
Such a pleasure to have you, and thanks for making this conference possible. I just want to applaud you. Such an important service. This morning I was thinking about Kuwait. What a wonderful country with lots of resources, lots of human resources, well-educated group of people, very international, very diverse, very dynamic society. I think the Kuwait is the right place to build its own infrastructure so that Kuwait or Egypt or Turkey or Denmark or other countries, they are not going to rely on the external resources. We are going to build our own organic resources and structures and educators and researchers. Thank you so much for the service.
Hi, my name is Fatima Dashi. I'm an associate professor at Kuwait University College of Education with Abrar. I'm here, actually my major is education technology. So I teach student teachers to be, how to use different kinds of instructional media. And we have other courses which about digital media, how to use them with their children. I believe in every child has a right to be taught or even medical health or whatever, to have it same as other children. And every child has his strength. So when I read about in my sabbatical about RTI, I was wondering how can I teach my students to use whatever media is available, instructional media for them for every child. So every child can use his own potentials to go up with, because at the end, no matter what is your model, the academic is the thing that gets you into university or a job. Whatever, because I went to schools for project-based learning and all these things, but still at the end the parents are worried about how my child will get to the university. I know he will learn, but his degree will not be accepted. This has happened with my child. I have a slow learner. He was, but now he's 26 years old and he works and he drives everything. But still, as a parent, they are the big obstacles. With my child's school, I was in the parents teachers committee.
Okay.
The parents was the big obstacle. The school, you can change it. The teachers, you can train them or change them, whatever. But the parents, you can't change them. And if they are an obstacle, the child is really in trouble.
Thank you so much for coming. And your field is very important for us because if there wouldn't be a school, there wouldn't be learning disability. That's the concept. The issue with the learning disability is this. Sometimes it's about the school structure, how we structure the school. And your field, education technology, opened up the possibilities. Because sometimes our students are more literate, more innovative and creative using those education technologies to even much more than the parents and the educators. And they find new ways to learn and new ways to express themselves. But somehow, our school system are very slow to change. We cannot catch up with that. So we still have the university entrance examinations. We are still asking our students to perform certain ways. Almost like we are forcing them to fit into this box. That's why the parents are saying, okay, all of those things are great, but can my child go to college? To be able to go to college for students with ADHD to sit through these boring lessons sometimes. This is painful for students. It's not right for, so let me put it this way. Boring lectures, teacher-oriented lectures are not good for anyone. But if you have an ADHD, you are going to show those things for your rest of the classroom. If you're moving around, if you are starting, disrupt the classroom, we often focus on that child. But maybe sometimes that child is telling us something about the classroom setting. Other kids are sitting through, maybe they're dreaming. They don't talk, they don't bother other kids, but they don't learn also. This is a very interesting aspect. We often focus on reactively those kids who are showing their symptoms, yelling, screaming, arguing, crying. They get the attention. That's the reactive part, right? But how about the rest of the kids? They are sitting quietly looking out of the window, right? They don't learn sometimes, but they don't show. They can hide their symptoms. So rather than blaming the child or putting every deficit in that child, I think that should be an opportunity for us to figure out, what are we doing in our classroom? Is my lecture accessible? Is my lecture entertaining? But also, am I a good teacher? If I'm teaching a math, do you know what I'm teaching about? Unfortunately, sometimes, specifically in the US, we had that issue. Teachers are not well prepared. Sometimes they don't have the good certificate systems. We may have special education teachers who are not trained in special education. We have teachers who are teaching history, math. They are not trained in that field. So I'm not sure that may not be, I'm sure that may not be the case in Kuwait, but I think it's a great indicator for us to reconsider how we conceptualize the school. What do we mean by school? What do we mean by learning? Can learning take place in school? As you mentioned that your child is very quiet, very cooperative. He's a great child at home, right? Why is he struggling at school? We used to think that maybe something is wrong with that child. But we often forget the other part. How about the schools? Environment, the school context. Is it diverse enough? Is it inviting? Is it supporting? Is it allowing that your child to express herself differently, right? So I think educational technologies open up possibilities for that. In terms of your comment about the parents are the obstacles, you and I are not on the same page with that stuff. I don't believe that, but I'm happy to dialogue with this one and learn your experience. I'm sure you're speaking from your experience. And I'm speaking from my experience in my research. But I understand what you're saying. When I work with the parents, I may hear the same complaints about teachers. When I talk with the principals, I hear the same things about some teachers. I have these 2 teachers. They don't follow our lead. They do their own thing. They don't do this PBS, RTI. Whole school is doing except them, right? I don't want to individualize a systemic problem. As I mentioned yesterday, if a school is dysfunctional, we are going to have dysfunctional individuals. If school is functioning, that will give us to more functional adults and more functioning kids. Just like the family environment, right? But I would love to hear from your experience. Thank you so much for attending such an important area. And unfortunately, in RTI and PBS, we don't use your field, which is opening up wonderful possibilities in the learning science and connecting the learning science with the education so that we can reconceptualize what it means to be in school, what it means to be teach, what it means to learning. I would love to hear more from you about your perspective about RTI and how we can combine the technology over there. Thank you. Welcome. Yes.
Good morning. I would like to thank Kald first for organizing this event. I think it's great, and we're very lucky today. And I hope you agree with me that we have a very diverse group in this room. Definitely. A very diverse group, from parents to teachers to administrators, researchers. I hope I didn't miss anyone, but it's great. I mean, and I think it really helps in, let's say, with what you have to present for all of us to reach a common ground. RTI is not an easy concept to conceptualize. I'm a faculty member at Kuwait University, and we spoke yesterday. And
for the rest of the group, would you introduce yourself?
My name is Abrar Al-Jazaf. I teach at Kuwait University at the School of Education. My background is in special education, and I've done most of my work in the U.S., but I've been here for 4 years now. And schools are schools, wherever you go around the world. It's basically how we as educators can bring in programs and culturally adapt them to the school system. And sometimes, even in Kuwait, when you go from one school district to another school district, the culture, I mean, it's not a vast change, but school culture does change, is different from one school district to the other school district. And I'm very happy that you did leave your key ideas on as we were introducing ourselves. It really, at least for me, it made me connect some of the dots with the individuals who spoke about their backgrounds and why we're here today to discuss an important topic. The only concern that I have, since RTI is relatively a new concept here in Kuwait, and I think that's why Kald prepared this conference to introduce it, maybe. Many people have heard of RTI, but I think from my simple experience with talking to educators, they don't have a deep idea of what RTI is really like, as a process. A lot of them think it's a program that we could bring and train the teacher and have her apply it on her students. And that's not how RTI is like, it's a process, it's a framework that a school has to adapt. And as you said, the RTI network, they've got many intervention tools that teachers may use. And the teaching tool that I use may not be the same teaching tool as another teacher next door to my classroom is using, even though we're teaching the same level. So Also, another point about RTI is a lot of teachers may think that RTI has to be used with a specific curriculum, and that's not necessarily true. Where it's being applied, you know, each state or each school district may be using a different curriculum. Each school may be using a different curriculum. So I think there are misconceptions towards RTI, and I really hope that after today, not this lecture, but you've got another lecture, I think, or another workshop later on in the day, that we leave this conference with at least all of us being on the same page on what RTI is really like, and it's not something easy to apply, you know. So when you explain it, it sounds as if it's like the, you know, that magic door, or, you know, to heaven, but when it's really applied, there are, you know, challenges, and you spoke about these challenges, and I hope that, you know, we all can be on the same page on that.
Wonderful. Would you tell about your research interests? What kind of research you do? Yes.
Past years, I've worked with school-age children. I did works pre-K with elementary school children, and then during my PhD, I actually shifted to working on transition, which I thought, you know, it's an area where there is, I would say, lack of research worldwide, and when I looked at my country here in Kuwait, there weren't any services provided on the topic of transition. And I believe that, you know, it's an area where it needs to be focused on and help those individuals, adolescents, in knowing what they want to do in the future. A lot of parents, again, I work with a lot of parents on, for example, what I've noticed through my research is that parents are like, I just want him to be in school until 21, and then, you know, after 21, you know, we'll deal with whatever is available. And I remember I used to tell them, you know, 21 is great. He's going to be in the school system. The law is with him. But then, what are you going to do at 21? If he's not prepared to continue his education or to be employed or to go into vocational training, there needs to be preparation early on. In the US, you know, it's mandated that at 14, a child has a transition, an educational transition plan. At 14. Kids at 14, typically developing kids, they don't even know what they want to do at 14 years old. But it's just to guarantee them that they do have a plan that would get them somewhere after 21. Unfortunately, you know, the few years I've been here, I've stepped away from that topic, but I'm getting back on it because I got involved with, you know, teaching and working with students. Our students are majority of our students, I would say, all of them go into the public schools, and it's been an area where I've been also focusing on. So I don't want to take more time, but I think today we'll have a better idea of what RTI is. Probably,
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that you join us over here, and I'm thinking that we can co-present this subject.
Why not? My pleasure.
Feel free to jump in and share your experience and perspectives. You have a very unique understanding of the both system, inside out. In the U.S. system, where you are trained, where you did your research, and Kuwait, where you're from, and you're doing your work, I think you can build that bridge, and the young scholars, emerging scholars, strong scholars like yourself, I think, play a key role in terms of that culture responsive adaptations, the science-based cultural responsive adaptations. Thank you. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, my name is Linda, and my background is special needs. My bachelor degree and my master's. I'm working on my PhD on school leadership. I've been working for last 12 years in Kuwait as a teacher, head of department, and now I'm holding a nursery principal for special needs. I'm here because before 2 months I met this lady and she introduced RTI for me. And I do believe that every educator, whoever is able, let's say, working in the field should attend any new terms or program. Sorry to say program, you said it's a process. For me, it's still a program, I have no clue. Because for myself as well, and for the parents and teachers who might ask me about this, whoever is a new people thought that since you're in the field, you have to have some answers for them. So other than that, I'm eager to learn about new things or increasing, adding more to my knowledge. but because I do have a staff, I have to answer their questions, and that's my role. And I do believe that schools, which I respect, some schools they don't, whenever they hire people in the administration related to the field, I guess that's what they are looking for. Because as a teacher, I suffered challenge. I belong to this team that their challenges was all the time with the parents, and again with the principals or the administrators or owners, because we're not reading from the same book all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I appreciate that my school have this vision, and for those other schools that they do so, because this is what you should have. Whenever the teachers again asking you, so you have to have an idea, not just to give decisions regarding, you have to discuss it. And I have to just to say one thing.
Please.
As I do belong to this team, they have the challenges with parents. I have to say hats off for the parents who's here, chapeau bas, because this will light up this for us that parents, inshallah, are in the right track. Wish all the best for these kids and their parents as well at the beginning.
Wonderful.
The first. Thank you.
Please.
Can I add something? Because everybody talking about parents and how parents are probably the worst point in this, or the hardest, the hardest challenge. Just I want to talk, I'm seeing that they are the strongest part. That I want to add that I am, or to tell the audience, that I am a very close friend to Amal Sayer. And I witness every step how the mother or the parents build up things to be here today. Because I'm with her when she suffered from the things that happened to her son, and how she can help him, and first of all help him in having his education, and then she thought how she can help everybody and make the mothers not suffer as she suffered from this. So, and this is, I think, the ninth year in the progress of Kald. And she, because of the parent, we are here. A parent of somebody who is having learning disability. The thing was in her mind when we travel together, when we swimming in the sea, when we eating. So that was something in her mind, and she did it. And that's why, so the parents can, what I want to say, the parents can do many things or big things if they know, or if we know how to approach them.
Definitely.
The way, so we have to know how to approach the parents.
I agree. Thank you so much for highlighting that aspect. Actually, that's why I gave the information yesterday about the background about special education. Special education didn't come out of nowhere. We always have individuals with disabilities. We are always going to have individuals with disabilities throughout the humanity. But unfortunately, for centuries, their rights, education rights, social rights, have been denied. They have been marginalized. They have been pushed aside. But by doing that, as a society, we are missing their wonderful contribution, right? And families, specifically mothers and fathers, parents and siblings, are over there for taking care of the everyday functions of those individuals, going through the every struggle with them. I mean, we have parents over here. I'm a parent. Whatever your child is experiencing, you're experiencing 2-3 times more. So I absolutely appreciate that. In the U.S., special education law came. That was the first special education law, and in 1975 came out of the parents' advocacy. So parents advocated for their children, not only for their children, but all children with disabilities. So thanks to them, we are here. Go ahead, please.
It seems like we're blaming the parents. For me, I'm not placing the blame on the parents. It's just that some parents are not aware.
Definitely.
So they don't, sorry.
Go ahead, please.
So some parents are not aware of this because of cultural factors or their educational level or what they're open to. So it's so important for us to make the parents aware first so that they can come across the line of denial.
No.
Without the awareness of or the education about these disabilities,
Definitely.
how can they even come to
Exactly.
go across the denial
Exactly.
stage? So
Wonderful.
I want to do that. This
I
is
understand.
what I need to do.
I understand your perspective and intentions from a very positive perspective.
Yes.
As a psychologist and as an educator, I work with parents, and I had those questions in mind. And I still have. Sometimes you see there are things that can help the child and the parents and the teachers. It's over there, but there's that kind of miscommunication.
I need to speak
All-
their language. In a way, when I tell them
Definitely.
these things, I need to say it in their language.
Or we can create a new language together. So we can adapt their language, their experiences. We can bring our own so that we can enrich our experiences. Thank you. So thank you so much for this contribution. As you can see that having everyone's voice and experiences, even though we have a very diverse groups and our interests are different, I'll try to tie them together, but I need your help with this one. Feel free, this is your session. I'm not over here flying over here to just give a lecture and just move back. I'm here to learn and share my experience. I'm a researcher, and I'll be happy to share my research with you about working with parents, educators, policymakers, and community representatives and organizations like Kald. We put them together and create a new system. Shall we start? Yes. Ready? Feel free to walk around. We are among colleagues. If you're just tired, just walk around, just get out, get in. I don't mind, okay? So we have a long day till 1:30, but at the end of 1:30, you are going to have more questions, which is wonderful. And feel free to refer to those resources I'm going to indicate to you, or feel free to email me. I'll be happy to answer your questions as much as I can. But I just want to start with this one. I'm not the RTI person. I'm not the PBIS person, okay? As I mentioned, that I don't buy into one program. I'm a scientist. I'm a social scientist. For me, the idea and question is, how can we create more inclusive, more democratic, more supportive schools? That's my question. RTI is not going to solve your problems. RTI came out of the issues and strengths from the United States. There are similarities with your country, with what you're experiencing, but things might be very different in Egypt, in your school, than in Egypt, in your school. Even in your school, in the same country, you may have different issues, different strengths. Maybe your school is doing something great, and your school can learn from that and adapt it, right? So I'm taking RTI and PBIS not just as the people who are advocating for RTI and PBIS. I'm not interested in doing that. I'm not selling anything, any idea. I'm not just saying this is the key to heaven. It's going to solve all your problems. Again, I'm a social scientist, and my focus is how individuals learn together, how individuals change together, how individuals form organizations so that they are not going to rely on one great teacher, one great administrator, one great parent, but it's a movement collectively, improve the quality of the lives for not just only students, but also parents. Not just only parents and students, but also teachers, school psychologists, us, paraprofessionals, us, because we live over there, right? So how a community can get together and build the capacity to be adaptive, to be responsive, and to be supportive. That's the question. RTI is just a stepping stone. These key ideas over here, they are coming from social science, social psychology, cultural psychology, educational science, education technology. Those are the principles. I put them together. And I'm taking those principles and applying to RTI so that we can make RTI to fit into our needs. Again, 10 years later, RTI may not be over here. You may hear different acronyms. But the whole idea about RTI is this. Think about it as a market, supermarket. There are different sections, right? The meat section, vegetables, and the house of goods, right? Different sections. You go over there, you shop whatever you need. So RTI is similar to that. We have been always doing things separately. We had those small shops. As a butcher, I was working in one shop. Then you are coming to my shop. Then you are going to do tailor over there. You are going to do buy fish from somewhere else. In the supermarket, everything is in together, right? RTI is the same way too. Again, RTI is not just bringing a new program, as Dr. Ghazal mentioned that. So what it does is actually integrates. Because what we know is, from our key ideas, if we improve the context of education, school, we are going to improve the learning for everyone. And we are focused on the not single individuals, not parents, not individual child, however troubling they are. We are focused on the whole system together. So the idea is, again, built in on the strengths, family, school, community collaboration. Those things work, right? That's why in RTI models, they put those ideas together. Okay. There you go. What do you need to do RTI? Here's the deal. Again, it's not a new program. It's not bringing anything new. But it's asking you to look at what you have. In your school, what do you have? How many teachers you have? Do you have a special education teacher or not? Do you have school psychologist or not? Do you have counselor, nurse? Do you have principal, right? You have parent liaison. Do you have an organization like Kald is working with you to provide after-school programs? What's available outside of you, outside of your school? RTI is asking you to ask that question. Because RTI, PBIS, XYZ, all of those kind of acronyms are over there to solve problems, right? Okay. So what we do actually, first step is this. You cannot do RTI by yourself. It's impossible. Because again, the whole idea, this is not an intervention like a speech therapist do. This is not a psychological sessions I used to do, like cognitive behavioral therapy. Kids with depression or adults with depression used to come to me, and I used to talk with them, the talk therapy, and medication, and everything. I work with the individuals. But in school settings, with these programs, you cannot do those things. Even though they came from the individual therapy sessions, ideas, you cannot do RTI by yourself. As a teacher, you can start, just like the parent, start a movement and change it. As a teacher, you can do that. But they ask you to, and which is also what we learn from the organizational psychology. Any organization is a business. Let's say a petroleum company in Kuwait, or bank in Kuwait, or some supermarket in Kuwait, or bus company in Kuwait. In any organization, schools are the same way too. There are multiple peoples, and there's a goal, right? There are lots of resources. In an organization, if you want to change the organization, you need to build the support. You cannot change the whole organization, even though you are leading that organization. Most successful companies always are adaptive. Look at the old big names, big companies. They are always adaptive to changing needs of the public and the resources. They adapt, right? As school leaders, we need to do the same thing too. We need to adapt. Otherwise, we are going to fail. Unfortunately, when we fail, our students suffer, our parents suffer, our teachers suffer. And they don't shut down because education is essential human rights. If, as a company, you fail, you lost everything, right? In schools, we don't do that, but our kids are suffering. So what we need to do, I'm not equating the business with the school, don't get me wrong. I'm all about the public education, human rights, but there is something to learn over there. In organizational science, we know that if you change an institution, you need to change collectively. That's it. From bottom to top, top to bottom. Inside out, outside in. RTI and PBIS, let's call them multi-tier systems. They are almost like covering the whole school and renovating. Like we have a building, right? We don't want to destroy the building. We want to make it new. We have the historical buildings. What's the historical area in Kuwait City? There's an historical town, old town in Kuwait. What's that? Bakia. So there are great houses, great palaces over there, great buildings. We don't want to destroy them, right? Because they serve the history. There is a purpose over there, and that's our connections. They are our history. They are our souls and spirit. We want to carry that buildings into future, right? This is how we built our cultural heritage, right? You're proud of being Kuwaitis. You want to build your country on those kind of principles, but adapt to today's society so that you can lead not just Kuwait, the whole world, hopefully. Same thing in RTI. We are taking these schools. We don't want to destroy them, right? But to be able to build that school, renovate that school, we need the help of parents. We need the help of the teachers. We need the help of the students, right? If one part of this building is lacking, that building is going to collapse, right? We need all columns should be over there. So RTI is doing that. To be able to start RTI in your school, start building support. You mentioned that, sir. You have RTI in your school. I'm sure you did those kind of elements. But if we want to build RTI in our schools and sustain, you need to build support from the local stakeholders. So involvement of principals, what we learn from the research is this, is the key. If principals are not buying in, that program is not going to be successful. Because as Dr. Jazal mentioned, that it's a long life of process. We may fail. Or we may not see the results of the change right away. Because we want change like this. Okay, we did this program, everything should be fine next year. It's not going to work. Change an institution takes time. Whether we like it or not, it's going to take time. Just like organisms. We built them, right? We cannot see like when you put the plant, the seed into the soil. You cannot just say, okay, come on, grow up. Grow up, I don't have time, right? You cannot do that. You need to nurture. And to be able to do that, you need to have a larger vision, right? And that support is coming with this one. If you bring the families, they are going to work with you. In the beginning, maybe they are going to struggle. Their kids are going to struggle. But they are going to work with you because you share the common vision. But if you don't include them into that common vision, yeah? Same thing for teachers. You're a principal. You would like to implement RTI in your school, yet your teachers don't buy in. But they don't say anything because you're the principal, right? If you don't have that kind of relationship, they're just going to say, yes, we love it. RTI is the best thing in the whole wide world. But just when you turn your back, they are not going to do the things because you didn't listen to them, or you didn't explain, you didn't work with them. So our job, if we want to implement RTI or PBIS, or these school-wide interventions in our schools, if you want to have the more functional supermarket, we need to work with each section. So each section should be coordinated, right? So our interactions should be more seamless. So secure buy-in from stakeholders before proceeding. That's the #1 key, right? Organizational change. Now we are not talking about changing the individual students. We are talking about changing the whole school culture. It's a tough thing. Think about our families. We want to change our something new, and it's going to take so much time. Even though we share the same blood, same heritage, same goal, it takes time. So you need to secure the support. Second, develop the plan, right? But this plan is going to be changed and adapted. When you're developing the plan, outline a timeline. For example, in your school, when you talk with the stakeholders and they say, we have students with autism in our school. We want to help them. They are struggling. Or we want to integrate the schools, right? Now we have these students with disabilities, educated with students without disabilities. Our task is to help that. So you are tailoring your plan based on your needs, okay? Again, RTI, PBS, and other kind of models cannot solve all your problems, but it guides you to solve the problem that you have. That's a wonderful thing, the shift in the field, which means rather than telling, we know the solution that you are experiencing, the problem that you are experiencing, we are just saying, This is how you can solve the problem. You can think like a scientist. Identify the problem, right? Build a team, research team, right? So that the issue is going to be analyzed, but also most important part is to develop your infrastructure. Are you familiar with the term infrastructure? Okay. Infrastructure is important, but also very hard to understand. I'll tell you an example. When you go to the restroom, you turn on the faucet and you wash your hands, right? And you turn off, you just come back over here. You don't even think about where this water is coming from. When you're connected to the internet, you're connected, you're just chatting, you're checking your emails. You don't even think about where the wireless is connected, right? When it's not working, they become more visible. Infrastructure has a great disappearance. It's like a magician. When it's working, it's invisible. And sometimes certain infrastructures are working for us, therefore it's invisible. For example, students with disabilities, things are not working. That's why they are more experiencing those infrastructure much better than you do. For example, from their perspective, if school is not a positive place, you're having fun as adults, as teachers. You're seeing everything's great. You have a good relationship. You have good teachers, good principals. You have a good relationship with parents. But students' experience might be very different than your experience. Therefore, you need multiple eyes to look at the same problem, to identify the problem holistically. Second, develop the plan, develop your infrastructure, which means whatever you have in your school. What's your strength? What do you do good? Maybe you establish a great relationship with your parents. Maybe you have a very good cohort of parents who can bring lots of resources, right? That's check. This is what we have in our supermarket. We have a great principal who's very knowledgeable, and she has a vision, and she can support our experiments. Check. We have special education teachers who are well-trained, but our special education teachers are trained in working with students with autism, working with students with intellectual disabilities. But we serve also students with learning disabilities, behavior problems. We check we have a special education teacher, but we need more support in terms of other elements. We are checking out what we have. That's our infrastructure, okay? Then prepare your team, team-based approach. As I said, this is coming from the US history. As I mentioned that yesterday, it used to be the principal is overseeing the teachers. Teachers are responsible for their classrooms, right? So if you're a good teacher, you have a good classroom. Individual teachers are responsible for classrooms. But that design didn't work out. And in 1950s, 60s, 70s, more prevalent the 70s and 80s, US system developed this structure called problem-solving teams. They are interdisciplinary teams, which means they said, to be able to solve our problems in our schools, I need to, as a special education teacher, I need to work with the general education teacher, right? Or as a math teacher, I need to understand if the same children are struggling in the language arts classroom, right? We need to understand them. Or let's say I'm a chemistry teacher, and I'm collaborating with the biology teacher so that we can join the unit. In similar ways, we can even unite our classrooms. But to be able to do those kind of decisions about our curriculum, instruction, we need to get together. Therefore, we need problem-solving teams. Problem-solving teams became very functional and as an essential part of special education law. Special education law, IDEA in the United States, requires schools to form interdisciplinary teams in which we have school psychologists, social workers, special education teachers, general education teachers, and parents. Sometimes parents. It's not required, but parents are always included. So that we can have those kind of issues. Let's say to identify if a child has a learning disability or not. It's a hard decision. We don't have a biological test, chemical test, medical test. What we do actually, through the interdisciplinary team, we identify those issues and solve them, okay? So RTI built on that history. So when RTI came along with the PBIS, They look at the schools, they said, we have this kind of problem-solving teams. We have the special education services. We have the curriculum and instruction. Why don't we combine those resources? That's why RTI and PBIS are used RTI teams, PBIS teams. So you need to build your team, okay? To implement RTI, you cannot do it alone. You need to work within a team because it's a long process. You need to be ready for the fight. And the second step is implement your plan. Any plan is not going to, no plan is going to be perfect. There is no perfect plan, right? Every plan should be tested in reality so that we can adjust. So using data to inform your decisions. Let's say you implemented a new curriculum for your students in the kindergarten, right? Some social skills training. Because in PBIS, positive behavioral intervention and support, you have those kind of social skills training for everyone. You implement it, and you're just wondering if it's working or not, right? That's a part of your plan. You have a timeline. You are going to implement that intervention in one school year, and throughout that school year, you're going to collect data. And data can be as simple as a checklist that teachers can collect, or you can use the central data systems, right? The Swiss and OASIS I was telling you about. So you need to use data to inform and develop and adapt instructional and intervention decisions. But again, every time I'm emphasizing this is a team decision. You can create the best classroom in your classroom, but if the school is dysfunctional, your classroom is going to fail. We cannot create the islands of this beautiful practice. It doesn't work. They are like oases. They disappear. We need the whole school structure. Otherwise, as a teacher, you may be the best teacher in the whole wide world. You may have the best education, but you are going to fail if your parents are and you are not on the same page. You are not collaborating. You are going to fail, unfortunately. We know that over and over. We have well-intentioned, intended, well-educated teachers. They are failing. Is it because they are lacking something? No. Issue is that the whole school context, even in the family. Let's say I'm treating my daughter, she's my princess. So I'm a little bit spoiling her, right? And my wife doesn't like that because she was, let's say, she's doing potty training. And she said, you know, we are going to do this. And I come home and I give her whatever she wants. And obviously she doesn't learn, right? We know those kind of, same thing over here. Let's say in my classroom, I want to establish a positive rule. In my classroom, my students, they don't have to raise their hands. They can join. I'm just giving an example. Or they have to raise their hands to speak. Or in my classroom, they can speak about the instruction and curriculum. They have a right to choose the curriculum, right? More friendly environment. And I ask them to bring their experience at home. Bring parents so that they can speak to my classroom. They have this kind of open classroom. And they go to another class where they try to do the same thing exactly. They talk, they ask questions, and teacher will say, don't be disrespectful, and they will get punished, right? If we are not on the same page, expectations are not the same, rules are not the same, those kids are going to be in trouble. Yeah.
I always do this with my kids because 3 years old, I think they have right to run, play, do everything what they want. But when they move, it's like you're slowing your kids too much. So
Yes.
how to get the other teachers to understand it's their time to do this.
Sure.
It's okay for them
Sure.
to run, to jump, to scream, even not to call me by miss.
Sure.
They like to call me like wala wala, and I say it's okay because it's their age to do
Sure.
this. How to let the other teachers to understand
Sure,
that.
sure, definitely. And again, your approach, I'm not saying one approach is better than the other. You're absolutely right. And this inconsistency is most specifically affecting students with disabilities too. So unpredictability. There's one thing about the teaching, right? In the behavioral aspect, behavioral support programs we have, we don't assume the kids know all the rules. They are supposed to do this, do that. We know that. That's the infrastructure. As adults, we know that. But they may not know that. Our role is to teach them, right? We need to teach the behavioral expectations. Yes?
I'd like to just comment on
Please.
what you said. It's also on the personality of the teacher. Like, so you they've gone into that system of come in, open the book, teach, leave. They don't have the patience to, okay, put up with a kid running around, and it's like I understand.
I can't do this. Be very strict with them. I can't.
So what happens is, like, sometimes, like when I'm counseling some of the kids with learning disabilities, they say the same thing. When I'm in my chemistry class, the teacher is excellent. She's so good, but when I go for my Arabic class, they're like, do this, do that. Why are teachers different, So sometimes when, like Dr. Bal, what he's talking about is getting everybody together, is to get everybody on the same page to behave in the same way, which is difficult, which is like a lot of adjustment in terms of personality through the teachers.
Definitely.
Take some, leave some.
Definitely. And again, everyone can learn, everyone can change. And I'm not just saying, some of my teachers were very strict, and I learned a lot from them. I'm not just saying one style is better than the other. But all I'm just saying is, if we don't communicate, we don't create a common culture, just like in family, right? We both love, my wife and I love our children. But our approaches are different. And at the end, our children are suffering in terms of learning. And again, at home, we can fix it. But at school, if they are already left behind, if they are struggling with the school, and they have those kind of different rules, different expectations, and rules are not clear, not for kids, some for teachers too. In our research, what we found out in Learning Lab, I'm going to explain in the second part of our workshop, I'm going to talk about my research, how we built those integrated systems with parents, with educators together. I'm going to tell a little bit more about this one. But what we learn is actually even teachers don't understand and don't know the whole rules, which is understandable. But they don't talk. They don't share because it's a little bit unprofessional. Everyone wants to be like, I'm the best, I know everything. And we don't have opportunities, in US at least, for teachers to get together. Not with parents, but amongst each other and make decisions. Almost like in the metaphor of the supermarket. Everyone is within the same supermarket, their own shop. It doesn't work. So we need to flow information because healthy organizations, even in the biological sense or the organizational social sense, is organizations in which we have the fluid interactions, fluidity. There's no blockage. Blockage means dysfunction, right? And again, I'll tell you one example before we cut. Everyone can learn. Our students with disabilities or students without disabilities. Our teachers, either more experienced or new teachers, right? But what we need to create is an organization in which everyone can be challenged and learn and adapt, right? General education teachers can learn from special education teachers and vice versa. And we learn from the parents as well as they are communicating and they are learning from us.
I believe that the diversity of the teacher is very important, and I am for it. Like every teacher has a different approach. Because as long as we meet in a common culture, those factors are met, it's good for them to have diverse aspects in their life.
Definitely.
Get them ready for the transition.
Definitely.
Because when they go out into their real life,
Definitely. Exactly.
they won't be met with like a school guidance.
Exactly.
They need to have that diversity. So
Definitely.
I actually like it.
Wonderful.
Teachers
Wonderful.
are diverse and different
Definitely. Definitely.
as long as the students' benefit is being met.
Exactly. So other thing about the schools, we can get together and celebrate ourselves being very open and nice, but we have a function. We need to teach. Our students should learn math, history, science, right? They need to develop their identities as human beings. So their social aspects and academic needs should be met. So we need to provide them high-quality instruction in a safe, positive, supportive environment. So the challenges over here is how can we do that, right? Don't forget, we built infrastructure, we have a plan, we are implementing plan, and we constantly evaluate and refine our plan through this process is implemented with the integrity. Do we follow our plan, right? We need to know. So almost like we are opening up that driver's seats to other people. To be able to go the same direction, we need to be on the same page. We may have disagreements. Disagreements are a natural part of human being. And I'm on the side which is different than the most of the researchers. Most of the researchers are going to tell you everyone should be on the same page. I say you don't have to. You don't have to. But the thing is, if you have a plan and infrastructure where the diversity can inform your decisions, you can negotiate and you can change, give and take. But you need to have open channels, almost like a heart, right? Do you remember heart surgeries? They open channels when they are blockage. So we need to do that fluid system. And we need to have the biofeed check through the evaluation and assessment. Excuse me?
Having everyone on board.
Yes, definitely. Everyone's voice is valid. And they may not be ready. Sometimes they may have resentments. Sometimes they may have misunderstandings. That's okay. As long as we are continuously talking, continuously working, and continuously providing best opportunities for our students. We are going to take a break. In the second part of our lecture, I think it's time, right? 10:30. The second part of our lecture, I'm going to give you specific informations and examples about how the schools are implementing RTI and how in our research bring the parents and educators together. Thank you so much for joining. See you at 11.